Auntie Bimpe's plan to take advantage of Mr. Cooty's vulnerability. Auntie Bimpe started coming to the house more often, using every excuse she could find to be around. She would dress up in her finest clothes, wearing bright, flashy outfits that she thought would catch Mr. Cooty's eye. She even began cooking meals, trying to show off her domestic skills, as if that would somehow make him forget the pain he was in. She was relentless, always finding reasons to stay longer, offering to help around the house, and trying to make herself indispensable. But no matter what she did, Mr. Cooty paid her no attention. He was polite, as he always was, but his heart was clearly elsewhere, still mourning the loss of his family. I watched all of this with a mix of disgust and relief. Disgust because I knew exactly what Auntie Bimpe was trying to do. She was trying to worm her way into Mr. Cooty's life, thinking she could take the place of his wife. But I also felt relief because it was clear that her efforts were failing. Mr. Cooty wasn't interested in her manipulations. However, on the other hand, I couldn't help but feel the tension building. Auntie Bimpe wasn't the type to give up easily, and I knew that her presence in the house could only mean trouble. As the days passed, I couldn't shake the feeling that something else was coming. Something I wasn't prepared for. The storm I had tried so hard to avoid was now swirling around me, and I had no idea where it would take me next. As the days went on, Auntie Bimpe's visits became less frequent, and her once confident demeanor started to fade. She could see that her plans were failing, and the more she tried to force her way into Mr. Cooty's life, the more she realized that she had lost control of everything. A few months had passed since Mrs. Cooty left, and the house had settled into a new, quieter routine. Mr. Cooty had begun to smile again, though it was a small, hesitant smile, and I was glad to see some of the sadness lifting from him. We continued to live and work together, with me balancing my schoolwork and my duties at home. Then, one day, something happened that I never expected. Mr. Cooty asked me to sit with him in the living room. He seemed nervous, which was unusual for him, and I felt my heart start to race. "Tabitha," he began, looking at me with serious eyes, "you've been such a blessing in my life. You've helped me through some of the darkest days, and I don't know where I'd be without you." I nodded, feeling a warmth in my heart at his words, but I wasn't prepared for what he said next. "I've been thinking," he continued, "and I want to ask you something important. Will you marry me?" I was stunned. The room seemed to spin for a moment as I tried to process his words. Marry him? I had never imagined that he would ask me something like this. My first instinct was to say yes, but then the reality of the situation hit me. What would happen if Auntie Bimpe found out? I could see the sincerity in his eyes, and I knew that he genuinely cared for me, but I also knew that my life was complicated, tangled in secrets and past mistakes. I didn't want to bring trouble into his life, and I didn't know if I was ready for such a big commitment. I need some time to think about it," I finally managed to say, my voice shaking. Mr. Cooty nodded, understanding in his eyes, and he didn't push me for an answer. For the next few weeks, I couldn't stop thinking about his proposal. I thought about everything that had happened, about the life I had now, and the life I wanted in the future. I thought about Auntie Bimpe and the danger she still posed. But most of all, I thought about Mr. Cooty and how much he meant to me. After much soul-searching, I made my decision. I went to Mr. Cooty and told him that I would marry him. But I had one condition. Nothing would happen between us until I finished my education. I needed to focus on my studies and make sure I could stand on my own 2 feet before taking such a big step. He smiled and agreed without hesitation. I'll wait for you, Tabitha, he said. Take all the time you need. We decided to keep our engagement a secret, even from Auntie Bimpe. The thought of her finding out terrified me, so we told no one. Whenever Auntie Bimpe asked me how things were going with Mr. Kuti, I lied, telling her that he couldn't stop talking about her. It wasn't true, but it kept her from suspecting anything. And so, our relationship remained hidden, known only to the two of us. It was a strange, secretive time, but I felt a deep sense of commitment to Mr. Kuti. I was determined to finish my education, to become the person I had always dreamed of being, and then, when the time was right, to stand beside him as his wife. For now, we kept our love quiet, waiting for the day when we could finally share it with the world. When I finally finished secondary school and was preparing to enter university, Mr. Kuti came to me with a suggestion that made my heart race. He wanted to visit my village, to meet my uncles and aunts, and to formally announce our engagement. The idea of going back home filled me with both excitement and dread. I hadn't been back since I left, and I knew that returning with Mr. Kuti would be a big moment for my family. But at the same time, the thought of facing my past, especially with Auntie Bimpi still lurking in the background, terrified me. What if she found out? What if she decided to ruin everything? Despite my fears, I agreed. I knew it was important, not just for our relationship, but for my future. So, with a mixture of nerves and hope, we made the journey back to my village. When we arrived, my relatives were thrilled to meet Mr. Kuti. He was everything they had hoped for, a rich, kind man who had taken care of me when I needed it most. They welcomed him warmly, with open arms and big smiles. The joy on their faces made my heart swell with pride and happiness. For a moment, it felt like everything was going to be okay. Mr. Kuti expressed his intention to marry me, and my uncles and aunts were overjoyed. They praised him for his generosity and kindness, and they were eager to give their blessing. But just when I thought everything was going smoothly, one of my uncles said something that sent a chill down my spine. One of my uncles spoke up, bringing everything to a screeching halt. "This is wonderful news," he said. "But before we can finalize anything, we must consult Auntie Bimpe. After all, she was the one who took Tabitha to the city. We cannot proceed without her approval." My heart dropped to the floor. Auntie Bimpe, the very person I had hoped to avoid, was now being brought into the most important decision of my life. I felt a wave of terror wash over me, knowing that if she was involved, my past would no longer be a secret. She could expose everything in front of my family, in front of Mr. Kuti, and ruin the life I had worked so hard to build. I could barely breathe as my uncle insisted that Auntie Bimpe be summoned to the village the next day. "It's only right," he said, "that she has a say in this. She was the one who helped Tabitha when she was in need." I knew the truth, that Auntie Bimpe had only used me and the other girls for her own gain, but I couldn't bring myself to speak up. The fear of what she might reveal paralyzed me. I could see the happiness on Mr. Kuti's face, the pride in my relatives' eyes, and I didn't want to shatter that.